Hey, what's up, everybody? BDL44 coming at you with another video. Okay, this is my preview video for the Brooklyn Nets and Los Angeles Lakers game. I just checked out the injury report for the game, and of course, it's still very early. It's only like 9 o'clock in the morning. The game's at 4:30, so things can definitely change. But as of right now, the good news is Anthony Davis is probable. That's what we are definitely aware of. We expect him to give it a go tonight. I don't know what the minutes restriction situation will be, but from what I understand, he responded well to a 2-on-2 where they went a bit harder than they normally do, and so they're excited about him being ready tonight, as am I. On the Brooklyn Nets side of things, of course, KD is still out. Kyrie will not go tonight. They're not going to pay that fine to make it so that he's available. Um, Millsap's out for personal reasons, but from what I understand, they were waiving him, so I don't know what's going on there. It's a gentleman by the name of David Duke who's also out tonight. Seiko Dembuya for us, meanwhile, the Lakers, he's in health and safety protocol, which I didn't realize. Um, what else? It was someone else from the Brooklyn Nets that is out as well, but it wasn't a prominent player. Oh, it's Claxton. Claxton, actually, the one who got that big jam over LeBron James. He's going to be questionable, so we really don't know if we'll see him tonight or not. And that does determine quite a bit because, needless to say, if you want to go up against that team, um, you definitely don't want to see a repeat of what we saw last time in that way. The good thing is we didn't have AD last time we went against the Nets, and of course he'll be available tonight, so that gives us a taller dynamic to say the least. And I think we'll see an immediate impact from AD with whatever minutes we're given, because one of the biggest problems the Lakers have had, of course, is rim protection and have had issues rebounding the ball, and we know that AD is going to contribute greatly in those areas. Um, so I'm very excited about what AD's bringing back to our team, just in terms of how other players are going to play off of having that dynamic in the roster, on the roster, more so. Dwight Howard isn't as necessary anymore, but I would like to see us still use him personally. I want us to keep rim protection on the floor at all times, but of course, the Lakers have different agendas about how they want to run their small ball and things of that nature. So that's what it is. As you guys know, I'm going to say this and I'll leave it at this. AD is not a center. I don't support him playing center at all. I think he's a forward, and that's that. But since we're running him at center, we just got to sit here and take the medicine that we're given. Um, so, last time we saw the Brooklyn Nets, Patty Mills went off for 34-7, I think it was. Kicked our butts so very badly. It was very, 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 very impressive on his part. We got to take him seriously. You can't play him like he's Patty Mills from the Spurs. You got to play him like he's an all-star level player who needs to be guarded and maybe even double teamed in certain situations. Um, James Harden will obviously be the focal point of what they do. James Harden is getting in better shape, and even though James Harden's having a down season for his standards, he's still putting up all-star level numbers, and he's still very capable of having a big line against us, to say the absolute least. Um, if I'm not mistaken, I glanced at his stats in the last game. He had a pretty good game last go round, so the rhythm that he's in should be projecting upward rather than downward. So, for me, my concern is only with how well he plays. If he destroys us, it might give us a big, big issue in regards to us winning this basketball game. But I feel like with AD down there, Braun playing the way that he is, it should give us a dynamic that puts us in a position to beat this shorthanded team. Normally, we're not projected to beat really anybody, and as bad as the Lakers have played, it's foolish to expect them to play well. But what I'm saying is, I know for a fact that a lot of the Lakers' struggles have been because they just simply have run so small. And it just trickles down because we have such poor defensive players and such horrible rotations in general. So once you put AD back on the floor, that should make Frank Vogel honest in some way. It should keep him honest, I guess is what I'm saying. Keep him from running no funny lineups with Carmelo in the center position, which clearly is just a red carpet rolled out for the opponent. And that's what I'm hopeful to see. Some of the confusion that he's displayed in trying to figure out how best to run the center position can kind of just be taken out of his hands. So that's the most important thing about having AD down there. He don't have to do too much thinking about that. So that's what I'm hopeful to see. I don't know what AD is going to be able to give us. Like I said, minutes restriction is a thing. But if he's himself, at least half of what he's able to give us should be effective in supplementing what we haven't had, or rather replacing what we haven't had in rim protection. So that is the main goal. Can we just see size on the floor for the Lakers? Austin Reeves, that's who I want to see play well. He only had 9 minutes in the last game, kind of falling down the depth chart to no fault of his own, in my opinion. I just think that was a choice of the Lakers to try to work Trevor Ariza back into the rotation and to try to get him, pushed along and try to give him a prominent role, which I think that's a mistake from jump, as we've discussed many times. And that's why you just don't have a whole lot of faith in the Lakers coaching staff, because you look at them and you say, so your plan was to get Trevor Ariza healthy and then put him in a prominent role. Now, mind you, this is a player who I thought was done when we signed him, but then he got hurt, and now he's coming back from that injury. In their mind, he's supposed to have a prominent role, like you're waiting on him like he's Kendrick Nunn or AD. And then when he comes back, then we really, or something like that. Plan alone shows us how far away from decent we are right now. Like, that's what we were waiting on. So that's what I have to say, man. It's just a lot of mistakes made by the Lakers, and because of it, we're just in a weird spot where it's hard to have confidence in us, even though we're getting a big time player back in our roster. So all of this being said, I do expect the Lakers to play better than they did in the last game against Miami. I don't think Brooklyn's a better team than Miami today because of the lack of players they have on their roster. I think their roster is a bit small. I think they're relying on some players that probably shouldn't be relied upon too much themselves. And I think we can come in here and sneak a victory if we can contain James Harden, which is very difficult. Very, very difficult, especially if he's got it going. But what I know about James Harden is he is not in the greatest shape. For his standards, he's not in Rockets James Harden shape, and hopefully I'm right about that, and he translates to having some give, I guess is what you could say. It's what I'm hopeful for, that he'll have some give to him. And what I mean by that is maybe he'll miss a couple shots, maybe he'll give us a couple turnovers, maybe he'll do some things that isn't like MVP James Harden, because if he plays like MVP James Harden, it could be a very long night. LeBron James is always going to be LeBron James, but I don't know. I have a weird perception of LeBron James's production on the floor. I just don't count it. It's like because we have so little on our team that helps him, it's almost like he is a representative of what those other five guys should be. And thus, he's a mainstay. Even if he's going for 30 and 5, because we're only getting 5 and 6 points out of everybody else, I'm not even impressed with that. It's like, okay, that's the production he needs to make up in order for those guys to be themselves. Where are we going to get the production that makes us great? Because he has to make up for what isn't there. So it's like, do I want to give LeBron James credit? Of course, he's playing great. But I look at him as the greatest player in the world. So for me, it's like, you're congratulating God for giving you a blessing. It's like, no, you thank him for giving you a blessing. He can always give you blessings. You know what I mean? That's kind of how I look at this. It's like, I'm backwards. I know you're supposed to give love and support and praise to the greatest players and then ignore the guys who don't have as much talent. But I just think inverted. I'm the complete opposite. The guy who's the best player in the world does not need to be considered, praised, nor thought of. Just put him in the side and pencil him in because he's consistency. And the greatest of great will show consistency. They will be great every night, and you don't have to think about them. You don't have to consider what they're doing. You don't have to say, oh my God, look at what he did. No, he did what he's supposed to do. Be the greatest player he can be. Now, what else is everybody else going to do? How can we get the most out of THT? How can we get the most out of Malik Monk? How can we get the most out of Avery Bradley, et cetera, et cetera? That's all I'm interested in. LeBron James, he is a afterthought for me as a fan. And that's just what it is. I'm not going to lie to you guys. It just is what it is. Stay over there. Be great. We don't have to think about you. You're not a problem for us. We have to focus on our problems. And so that's where I'm at with LeBron James. Just keep doing what you're doing. And please, keep the turnovers down, bro. 6 turnovers? Not acceptable for you. We already have issues with other people turning the ball over. You're getting 4 turnovers out of Trevor Ariza. No. You got to keep your turnovers down, bro. And them bad 3-point shots that he takes, I would rather him just pass those shots up. I really would. If you want to conserve your energy, you know what I mean, on certain plays, and your solution is to come down and jack up a three, what I want LeBron to kind of change and shift his idea to is you can come down and run a play for other guys. And whether they get that play or not, that's another rep for them to run. Since we're such a team that hasn't practiced very much, we don't need long jacked up threes. I mean, the volume, the threat of him shooting that three is wonderful. So I understand taking threes and just creating the space for yourself so that the defense can react to that volume. I understand that concept. But at the same time, it's like we're a team that needs to develop the players we have. We're a team that needs to assess further where we're at. And if we're just wasting possessions on jacked up threes because Bron doesn't want to use his legs, fam, you can still not use your legs and have a bunch of other guys running around. The other four guys can do a real nice little play, 3-4 passes, get a layup, get a three or whatever, and we've gotten that much better because we ran another rep of what it is that we need to learn. This is the type of stuff I want LeBron, as genius as he is, to see the fruit in. Bro, you running down shooting a three don't make nobody better, especially if you don't go in and don't get rebounded. I'd rather us get that shot to Austin Reeves after about 3 or 4 passes and 2 screens. That's going to make us better. You see what I'm saying? So that's the type of stuff that's just a philosophy thing that I see. I've been listening to a lot of guys talk about LeBron James. Ticket TV's been on his helmet. He cutting him down. I've been listening to other guys like Dan, the Lakers fan. He wants Vogel out. Like, everybody has their ideas about how the Lakers should go about this thing, and I kind of agree with everybody. Ticket TV's take it a little further than I probably would. Just because I don't really have that point of view on LeBron James as to really be as critical personally. Like, I'm not that invested in terms of that. I just want my team to be good. If he can get his stats and continue to ascend into the Michael Jordan territory, and while we're good, cool. That's good, man. Get what you can get. I don't have a problem with that. It's when it's to the detriment of the team that's a problem. And that's where me and Ticket TV agree. He feels like LeBron James is kind of catering this team, or has catered this team to fit him and how he looks. And I think there's evidence of that. I think there's evidence of that. But I also think that LeBron James' struggles on this floor can be fixed in terms of the team itself. Those struggles can be fixed. We just have to change certain things that we're doing. And it blows my mind that LeBron James isn't adamant about making those changes. That part, it really confuses me. I felt the same way about Rondo being here earlier in the season. I'm like, how is our offense so terrible and Rondo's not saying nothing? Like, how is he sitting here watching us play this poorly and he's not throwing chairs around? Like, I just don't understand what's going on with this team as it pertains to the urgency to get better. I think what we have is too many Chiefs. You know what I mean? That's what I think is going on there. People don't want to step on each other's toes. And I think it's too much of that. And I think Bron and the Lakers need to rid themselves of some of that energy so that they can get back to running something that makes sense. Because there's just too many Chiefs. There's too many guys that have been Hall of Famers that demand their respect, that have their own money, that ain't really interested in doing anything but continuing their legacy and doing it their way. And I just feel like you need more soldiers. You need more guys like your THTs and your Austin Reeves and your Kendrick Nunns and you need more of those guys so that when you say something, it can be the law. As opposed to a bunch of guys saying, yeah, but, when we were over here, we did it this way. So, yeah, I'm gonna do me. There's a lot of that I think is probably going on behind the scenes. And I just don't think that's going to help us get better. So if I'm the Lakers, I'm going to shave off some of them Hall of Famers. I ain't going to lie. Some of them ain't going to be here to the end of the season. But as we know, the Lakers have not, as an organization, prioritized being better over having that dynamic of a bunch of Chiefs, basically. They want that. It makes Bron happy, it seems, or whatever. I don't know, but it's bad for our team, and I don't like it. So that's where I agree with Ticket. So that's where we at, man. My mindset as a Laker fan going into this particular game is the same as it always is. The best bet for the Los Angeles Lakers, if you're betting on the Lakers, is to bet that they're going to lose. Why? Because there's going to be a lot of factors that contribute to that. And if they win, it's because the other team more than likely helped them out. Help them out. That's how we do. We approach games with strategy that's going to get us blown out just about every night. It's the truth. I can't lie to you. And it's not as egregious as playing Isaiah Thomas at the center and playing Shaq at the one, but in my mind, it's pretty much the same thing. That's the kind of stuff we do. And then we wonder why we don't have opportunities to win games, or why we're always coming from behind. Or it's because you start the game off in ways that ain't going to help you. So, I want to see what our coach does tonight, Obviously, he's gotten a lot of flack for starting Trevor Ariza, which was something that we all knew he shouldn't have done. In fact, I'm on board with waiving Trev, and I've said that a million times. Ain't no sense in having that guy on this team. He can't help us. Even if he gets in its best shape, his skills are not where they used to be. His motor and all of that is not where it used to be. To me, he seemed like he's ready to do a podcast or something, man. Like, he's ready to sit next to his homie Maul and Rory and do podcasting. That's what it seemed like to me. Like, he got off the couch and said, yo, I could play one more year. And then he got out there and he couldn't. That's what it seems like to me. You know what I mean? And I like Trev. I do. But it's like when you're away from the game and you're living a cool life and then you try to get back out there with a bunch of athletes. Nah, man. Just because you used to be able to do it back in 09 and had a nice long career does not mean your body's going to be ready for that type of intensity. Them kids are 10 times stronger than the guys you were going up against in 09. These kids are the evolutionized version of athletes. As life is, guys just get better, stronger, and faster every generation. So now it's like your aging flaws are even worse for this franchise now. And if I were Trev, I'm going to tell you the truth. If I were Trev, I'd look at my coach crazy and say, hey, yo, Trev, you starting. I'd be like, what? Like, if I'm him, what? You sure about that? And same thing in regards to Carmelo playing the center. I'd have been like, hey, look, thanks, coach. But then after that, I would have came to the other side of the, after everybody's out of the meeting, I would have came up to Frank Vogel and say, listen, man, between me and you, this strategy is trash, bro. I ain't no center. I ain't never been no center. I'll do what you asked me to do, but the numbers are going to tell you that this is not what's best for me, and it's not what's best for the team. And that's what I think is upon those vets to honestly do, seriously, especially if you want to win. That's why I respect what Russell Westbrook's kind of mentality has been. He knows he's been struggling. Now, in most situations, when he gets benched the way that he got benched, you're going to hear about it. But guess what? He knows as well as we do that he hasn't been giving us the best opportunity to win certain basketball games. And he don't have enough to defend himself with because we have evidence, literal evidence, of him blowing games down the stretch. So while he ain't going to sit up here and say, hell yeah, you should be benching me, him being silent tells me he don't necessarily disagree. And that's a good thing because we all got to be honest about what's going to help us win. If I can't do what I need to do to help us win and I'm a part of the team, I need to sit my butt down and encourage the coach to put somebody in who can help us win. That's the unselfishness that we need from our players because otherwise we're just going to continue to lose and guys are going to continue to take on opportunities that they can't do anything with. If you're a team and you want to win, you got to do what it takes to win, even if it means sitting your butt down. Dwight Howard showed me that against the Houston Rockets in the playoffs, in the bubble. He set that entire series. No complaint. Why? Because he knew. He knew. We had spacing issues against that team. We couldn't play him in that series. We were not going to be in the best position to win. He sat there, took his medicine, got a ring because of it. If he would have fought and caused trouble, it might have ruined our bubble situation, sent us home without a championship. That's a sacrifice necessary for us to win, and he's better for it because he has a ring for it, as I said. These are the type of things that's going to get you your ring, guys. Westbrook, Melo, letting that idiot of a coach put you in positions to fail is going to be your own downfall. Straight up. And if it ain't his call, and if it's Bron's call, y'all need to have a real conversation with your boy King. Hey, look, we're going to lose, guy. This ain't working. Yes, it puts me in a position to run around, but I'm going to run around and get beat. Throw somebody else in who could do it. Encourage and empower those young fellas. Ain't no reason in hell for Austin Reeves to get 9 minutes and for Stanley Johnson to get 14 minutes while Trevor Ariza is starting in 2022. There's literally no logical explanation for that other than I want the team to lose and I want my legacy to suck. That's the only thing that makes any sense when you allow something like that to happen. I'm sorry. That's the result of such in 2022. So, the year matters. If this is 09, hey, we're in a different situation, obviously. But this is 2022. Stanley Johnson is Trevor Ariza back then. And you went with the old Trev. How does that make sense? So, yeah, no, Obviously, Frank would have been gone 2 months ago if I had me to say so on anything. So, needless to say, it's fire Frank. It's fire Frank. It's fire Frank yesterday. It's fire Frank tomorrow. He got to go. As long as we're sitting here saying we have to suggest to our coach certain things that'll help us win, clearly the coach ain't the guy. He ain't him. Get him out of here. Why are we still here with this? So, that's my take on that. And so on and so forth. Do I expect the Lakers to win tonight? Of course not. Never. Not anymore. I did that in the Miami game. They gave me no reason to believe they were going to win, and I went with a gut feeling that was manifested by nonsense. The team sucks. They're not good. You should never expect them to win. If they do win, hooray. But if they don't win, no shock, because that's who we are. So that's the real Laker fan. I've been a Laker fan for 29 years. I've seen us better than this. I've seen us worse than this. Actually, I don't know if I've seen us much worse than this. But the point is, we've had some bad teams. We have. And I was honest then, I'm honest now. And when we're great, I'm just as honest. It is what it is, but I'll never sugarcoat it. I'll never support losing. I'll never support ineptitude. I'll certainly never support a lack of size on the floor. Never that. Unless you can give me a bunch of Isaiah Thomases, like the other Isaiah, not the short one, but Detroit. If you can give me 5 Detroit Isaiah Thomases, then maybe I'll be willing to run small ball because I know we're going to outscore whoever's down there, whether we rebound or not. But the reality is, if we don't have players that talented running small ball, gravity is going to tell the story. You're going to be closer to the ground, and the guy up there is going to get the ball first. It just is what it is. It's not as complicated of a sport as we make it. It's really not. So that's what I got to say, man. This Brooklyn Nets game, I'll be watching. It starts at 4:30 Pacific time. I believe that's 7:30 Eastern. You know, it's going to be at Barclay, so you know the stars are going to be out. Bron is in the house, so that means that, you know, you might see Jay-Z. You might see, you know, Khaled. You may see all the stars, you know. It's one of those events. And because of it, I'd expect the stars to show up. Bron's numbers should be elevated because of that presence. Harden's numbers possibly elevated because of that presence. AD depends on the minutes restriction and how he's feeling. I don't expect big numbers, but I do expect effective production from Anthony Davis with the minutes given. You know, 15 points, 8 rebounds. It ain't going to be a lot, but it should be effective. I don't want to see him go 1 for 9 or something like that. If that's the case, he ain't ready. Sit him back down. Simple as that. We are a 500 ball club in the middle of the longest road trip of our year. We're 1-2 on that road trip, if I'm not mistaken. Or 1-1. It was 1-1. But nevertheless, we're in the thick of it. So, yeah, tonight's NY, man. We got to get it right, man. BK. You know what I'm saying? Rest in peace to Biggie, you know, one of the great MCs. I look forward to this one just off the strength of the environment, but I don't expect much from our team. I really don't. And I'm wise not to. So, thank God KD ain't playing. Thank God Kyrie ain't took the jab. And because of it, maybe we can give ourselves a chance at maybe an overtime game or something if we're lucky. But otherwise, I just expect Frank to do stuff to make us lose. And I expect everybody else to sit there and say, yep, it's fine. That's what I expect because that's what we've been doing. All right, so hopefully I'm wrong. I'd love to be wrong. I'd love to come back and say the Lakers played great. Whoa, look at the night that everybody had. But you just come to understand that this team is not very good. My name is BDF44. Thank y'all for watching. I'm out.